Okay, I'm going to be talking about dating and as a neurodivergent woman in this video, and got quite a bit to unpack here. Um, Now, before I get into the nitty-gritty of this video, this topic, I'm going to explain a little bit about my situation, and we'll take it from there. I was diagnosed at a young age as being on the spectrum. I think I might have mentioned that in another video I made. Neurodivergence. Okay, specifically here, I am kind of talking about high-functioning autism, Asperger's syndrome, and then there's a few other spectrum disorders. I kind of fell into the last category. And it did kind of explain a lot of the problems I had. But they didn't seem to become apparent until I got to be at least 11 or 12 or so. Anyway, because it is a developmental condition, it affects social development to a great extent. And one thing you may be going through or have gone through is your social milestones tend to be delayed. And social anything and dating pretty much just go hand in hand, most of the time, anyone who's popular as a kid is probably not going to struggle with dating as they get old enough. There's probably exceptions, but for the most part, if you have no trouble making friends when you're young, you're probably not gonna be struggling with dealing with the opposite sex, and not any more than what most normies go through. So about the developmental, here's a good example. Let's say you're about 14 years old. Your developmental stage might be closer to being like age 10. Okay, so you might have the social goals of a 10-year-old. I mean, I remember you wanted to have a few friends and you wanted to have a bestie. I mean, I don't know if it's still like that or not, but that was what I went through. Your peers who are 14 and they're developmentally 14, they're probably they don't care as much about that, but they're trying to get into cliques, and you're probably standing around wondering, what is that all about? Because I know I did too. So that was me. I was kind of like, I could kind of just slip through the cracks until, I guess, a puberty, adolescence, or whatever. But anyway, because autism involves a lot of issues with social development, it's probably not surprising that many of y'all are single longer than your peers. And you're probably worth more than that. You're probably not just single, but you're bewildered about it too. I always got the impression in the past, the average woman that ended up an old maid and collected cats was probably had autism. Maybe that's not true. That perception could be misguided, but like I said, I don't want to come off as insensitive or anything here. But I have actually heard comments on some other channels where a couple of men were talking about the dating scene, and one of them said, well, autism is probably not a hindrance for women in dating, because you know what? A lot of guys might be more likely to give them a chance now because they're thinking, well, they're probably not as ditzy as these normal girls. And they have a more socially Okay, the word I'm looking for. Social naivete. Oh, you like how that sounds? That word almost sounds French. Okay, what is social naivete? Okay. It's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. First of all, you're kind of unaware and isolated from the very cruel, devious ways of neurotypicals. So, in a way, that's it's a breath of fresh air in a time like we got now, where everybody seems to be only looking out for their own and can't trust anybody anymore. But the bad part of it is it makes you more of a target for bullying. It makes you more likely to be taken advantage of, and uh, also maybe likely more likely to be a target of SA. So I hope that you have a good mentor in your life who can help you steer you away from. It's not just walking on eggshells. It's walking through a landmine. So, I didn't get much attention from the opposite sex. I didn't get hardly any. I went through some things that kind of, so I remember some guys, maybe they may have been Chads or Chad Lights, and I couldn't tell if they were trying to flirt with me. But here's the thing I noticed. There's a gaggle of Stacys behind them. Most likely, if you're in this situation, you are being singled out, or they're trying to impress the Stacys. So unless a guy is alone when he's trying, yeah, I would consider it, no, it's not flirting. It took me a while before I figured that out. So, uh, so the neurotypical males either got made fun of or picked on by them altogether. I had my first, I think I was in junior high. I made a friend with, it was another guy my age. We were in some kind of class called behavior disorders. Don't ask me why it was called that. And he was neurodivergent. And he had a learning disability. He had something else. But he probably treated me with more respect and kindness than any boy I'd went to school with to that date. So that is when I finally, well, maybe not yet, but a few years later, I ended up transferring to a different school, and it was for neurodivergent kids. And it had included everyone from pre-K all the way through high school. And here I was, never been on one date. And the first day I go, there's just already a guy trying to talk to me and ask me out. And that was telling me something. I could only trust guys that were neurodivergent, hands down. So, we went out a few times. I don't know. That probably lasted maybe 3 to 6 months, I guess. I don't know. Probably might have remained friends later. So, everybody's different and everybody has different experiences. I'm just looking at something right here. And what I went through might not be what you went through, but it definitely set the tone for down the road future dealings with men. I learned that I guess I couldn't trust neurotypical men because I thought they were either too worldly and I would get taken advantage of or hurt in some way. And then once they found the neurotypical Stacy, I was going to be left in the lurch, things like that. So do with that what you will. I'm just looking at something I wrote down right quick. It's like I have to get everything out. Okay. But no, I was not pining for Chad. I'm sure I had a few Chad crushes. I'm sure I did. Most of them where I was Chad and Chad Light, you're probably going to get rejected by them because most likely they're neurotypical. And just want to make this real clear. It's not because you're ugly. It's not because you're this, that, or the other thing. But you know good and well how this society we live in is. It puts people in a pecking order. And it's all about status, climbing the social ladder, stepping on other people to the way to the top. They know it's not right. It's not okay. I'm just telling you what the rules are and just to understand. But that is what you're faced with, is having to navigate this really sad, scary landmine. My advice to women out there who are struggling with dating and are on the spectrum, I would suggest you give other guys who are also like you and neurodivergent a chance. Most likely your first love is going to be somebody like that. Somebody you will feel accepted by and can relate to. And I share all this with you because it did give me a complex after a while, because I was beginning to think, I'm never going to be able to date or neurotypical males. I'm always going to have to worry about getting hurt by them. And my first husband was neurotypical. I was a good bit older by then too, though. So it's like the patterns that get started early in your life have a way of just following you down the road. And when I got older, I became more aware of it. At the time, I probably was not. When I was 25 or so, I was like, oh, I'm just a femcel, and I need to take the pink pill. I didn't know that vernacular back then, but now that I'm older, I understand it a lot better. When you understand it, then you can figure out, you can break the cycle you're in. So, forums are great places to interact with people that are also in the same boat you are. I love forums. I like forums way better than social media, hands down. So, and the rejection from Chad. The rejection from Chad is not like, I don't know if I trailed off, but it's not because, most of the time, it's probably not because of anything to do with your looks. It's because you're viewed as weird or nerdy or some combination. And society tends to pigeonhole people, even though it's not okay. We know it goes on, and put everybody in a pecking order. And it seems that no matter what you do, once you're in that pecking order, once you're on that, so whatever that step is on the food chain, it's really hard to get out of it, And for a while, I thought maybe men who are autistic kind of fared a little better in ways. Now, I think professionally they probably do, because women tend to be the socially aware gender. It's like, boys and men were allowed to be a little more boneheaded and make mistakes, but girls and women, I think, were expected socially to be on the up and up and know what to do in interacting with people. The other thing I always thought, autistic men could find a nerdy niche to get involved with, like a career path, but it didn't seem like there's nerdy niches for women. At least that's what I felt like at the time. Maybe that's different, but when I was that age, being a geeky girl was not considered, you were still an outcast. But that's pretty much my experience. I don't want to make this so long that I bore everybody, but I think I've covered everything. And drop me a comment or question. Let me hear from you if you have have experienced some of this stuff I talk about. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye.